Is it visible? Anybody can.
Yes, sir.
So, dear students, welcome to Prerna Gate classes. I am Dr. M. Chittaranjan, working as a professor and head of Engineering Department, SV College of Engineering, Tirupati. So, today onwards, I am going to deal geotechnical engineering for gate classes under the scheme of Prerna Gate classes. So, today I am going to discuss about fundamentals of soil mechanics. A soil is defined as the solid particles obtained by physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rocks. So soil is formed from rocks. So rocks are subjected to physical disintegration and chemical decomposition. So because of this physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rocks, soil is formed. So soil consists of solid particles and voids. So between the solid particles, voids will be formed. So soil consists of solid particles and voids. So these voids are sometimes filled with water and sometimes may be filled with air. 1 minute. మేడం ఉన్నారు మేడం చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు వచ్చారు మేడం జస్ట్ అయ్యారు మేడం చాలా అయ్యారు ఓకే So let me explain. So what do you mean? What is the origin of soil? So soil is formed by geological cycle, which goes continuous nature due to geological agents. So geological agents are classified into two types. One is natural geological agents and natural forces which are responsible for modifying the irregularities. So geological agents are natural forces which are responsible for modifying the irregularities. So these geological agents are two types: endogenous geological agents and exogenous geological agents. So endogenous geological agents originates below the earth surface. Example: earthquake, volcanic eruption, and groundwater, etc. So these causes irregularities on the surface of the earth. So in order to get equilibrium, exogenous geological agents originates above the earth surface. Example: a river, glacier, gravitational forces, next ocean. These are called as exogenous geological agents. So geological agents are two types. One is endogenous geological agents, and the second one is exogenous geological agents. So endogenous geological agents formed below the earth surface. Exogenous geological agents originated above the earth surface. So example for endogenous geological agents. This is very important. Examples are very important. You need to identify the whether it is formed above the surface or below the surface. So endogenous geological agents originate below the surface. So example: earthquake, volcanic eruption, groundwater, etc. So this exogenous geological agents above the surface like ocean, river, glacier, gravitational forces, etc. So geological agents are natural forces which causes irregularities on the earth surface. So in order to get equilibrium, that means number of elevations and number of depressions on the surface should be equal. So in order to get equilibrium, exogenous geological agents acts as the exogenous agents acts on these geological agents and modifies the irregularities on the surface of the earth. So depressions and elevations are formed due to endogenous geological agents, and these depressions and elevations are makes flat by using this exogenous geological agents. So geological cycle. So the soil is formed due to geological cycle. The geological cycle consists of weathering, transportation, deposition, and upheaval. So the gate question here is the correct sequence of geological cycle consists of weathering, transportation, deposition, upheaval. It may be interchanged. So sometimes in objective questions, it may be interchanged. You need to identify the correct one. Weathering. First, rock is subjected to weathering. So after weathering, the top surface of the rock will be loosened. This loosened layer is transported. So these are after transportation. When the velocity of geological agent reduces, these are deposited. So due to deposition, a heave is formed, which is known as upheaval. So first weathering, so transportation, deposition, and upheaval. So the correct sequence of geological cycle consists of weathering, transportation, deposition, and upheaval. So formation of soils. So whether soils are formed due to physical or chemical weathering. So physical weathering consists of temperature changes, frost action, abrasion, attrition, spreading of roots, men and animals. So chemical weathering consists of hydration, hydrolysis, carbonation, leaching or solution, oxidation. So here gate question is identify the correct one which undergoes in uh, which is included in physical weathering. Identify the correct one which is included in chemical weathering, like that. Suppose they will be given some objective questions like temperature changes, fast action, abrasion, or hydrolysis. So you need to they will ask which one is belongs to chemical weathering. So like that, objective questions will be like this. So you need to know which are categorized as physical weathering and which are characterized in chemical weathering. So physical weathering consists of temperature changes, frost action, abrasion, attrition, spreading of roots, men and animals. So chemical weathering includes hydration, hydrolysis, carbonation, leaching or solution, oxidation. So physical weathering, the process in which rocks are converted to small pieces by physical disintegration or mechanical breakdown of rocks without any chemical changes. The soil formed in this process has the similar properties as the parent rock. So coarse grains are formed due to physical weathering. So you need to remember that. So here, soils are formed from the parent rock. The parent rock and also the soil both are exhibit similar properties. The soil formed from parent rock and also soil derived from the parent rock both are similar properties. So that you need to remember. So the soil formed in physical weathering exhibits similar properties as that of parent rock. At the same time, coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. You need to remember this one. So coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. It's a gate question. So fine grains are formed due to chemical weathering. So coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. Here only large rock pieces are converted into small pieces. Large boulders and cobbles like rocks are broken into small pieces so that the soil is formed. The soil exhibits the properties of similar properties of parent rock. So coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. Chemical weathering. So the rock in which original rock forming minerals are transformed into new minerals by chemical reactions are known as chemical weathering. In this case, so some chemical reaction will take place between rock and external agencies. Because of this chemical reaction, a new rock minerals are formed. So these soils are not exhibit the similar properties of parent rock. So parent rock property is different from soil derived from the same rock. So the soil formed in this process do not have the properties of parent rock. So please remember the soil formed in this process, chemical weathering, do not have the properties of parent rock. So fine grain soils are formed due to chemical weathering. So please remember fine grain soils are formed due to chemical weathering. So coarse grain soils are formed due to physical weathering. Geological classification of soils. So this classification is very important in the gate point of view. So each and every point you should remember. So this classification is based on transportation of soil. So based on transportation, the soils are classified into two types: residual soils, residual soils, or sedentary soils. Sedentary soils. This is for the first category. Second category is uh, transported soil or sedimentary soils. Transported soils are sedimentary soils. So first I am explaining about residual soil or sedentary soils. So both are similar. Sedentary soils and sedimentary soils. Sedentary soils means it is the residual soil. Sedimentary soils are transported soils. The residual soil, soils which remain at the place of formation just below the parent rock, is known as residual soil. Those are soil which remain at the place of formation. That is at the bottom of the parent rock. Soil is formed and it is at the place at the bottom of the parent rock. Soils which remain at the place of formation just below the parent rock is known as residual soil. It is not transported. Just near the parent rock, it is deposited. So such type of soils are known as residual soils. The soils which are not transported. The soils which are formed at the foot of the parent rock, they are known as residual soils. For example, black cotton soils, laterite soils are known as laterite soils are red soils. These are known as residual soils or sedentary soils. So black cotton soils. So the parent rock of black cotton soil is basalt and trap. So please remember the parent rock of black cotton soil are basalt and trap. So black cotton soil exhibits swelling and shrinkage. So when these soils receives water, increase in volume takes place. When water is dried out, decrease in volume of the soil mass takes place. So black cotton soil exhibits swelling and shrinkage. So due to presence of Mount Moon clay mineral, it exhibits high compressibility or swelling nature. The swelling and shrinkage of black cotton soil is due to presence of Mount Moon clay mineral. So this is a gate question. So black cotton soil exhibit swelling and shrinkage due to presence of Mount Morellet clay mineral. We have so many types of clay minerals, but the soil which contains Mount Morellet clay mineral only exhibits swelling and shrinkage. Next, lateritic soils. So these are formed by oxidation process in chemical weathering. So lateritic soils are formed due to chemical weathering. Red in color due to presence of iron oxide. So lateritic soils are in red color. The lateritic soils are red in color. So this red in color is due to presence of iron oxide. So please remember, lateritic soils are red in color due to presence of iron oxide. Due to presence of iron oxide. Next, next one is transported soils or sedimentary soils. So the soil which are formed at one location is transported and finally deposited in another location. So soils are transported by natural geological agencies such as water, glaciers, sea, lake, etc. So because of exogenous geological events, these soils are transported from one location to another location. So they are also known as sedimentary soils. So depending upon the agency of transportation, they are named as alluvial soil, alien soils, marine soils, and lacustrine soils. So depending upon the agency of transportation, they are named as alluvial soil, alien soil, marine soil, and lacustrine soils. So alluvial soils. The soil which is transported by running water or steam are called alluvial soils. So alluvial soils are river deposited soils, river or stream deposited soils. So the soil which is transported by running water or steam are called as alluvial soils. It consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. So first layer is sand, next layer is silt, next layer is clay. Like that, it consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay, which is termed as loam. Loam, loam. So loam means the alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. So it is the example for river deposit soils or alluvial deposit soils. So you need to remember all these things. Alluvial soils are river deposited soils, and the layer it consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay, and it is known as loam. So loam consists of alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. Lacustrine soils. So the soil which are deposited at the bottom of the lake are known as lacustrine soil. It is a gate question. So the soil which are deposited at the bottom of the lake are known as lacustrine soils. So they consist of alternate layers of silt and clay. So alternate layers of sand, silt, and clay. It is a river deposit soils called as loam. But if the alternate layers of consist of silts and clay, which is known as warwood clay. Warwood clay is a example for lacustrine soil. So warwood clay is deposited at the bottom of the lakes. So the Soils which are deposited at the bottom of the lakes are known as lacustrine soils. Lacustrine soil consists of alternate layers of silts and clay, which is known as warped clay. So next, marine soils. So the soils formed by oceans or seawater are called as marine soils. The soil found by oceans or seawater are called marine soils. Marine soil example for marine soil is marl. It consists of highly decomposed organic matter. So marl consists of highly decomposed organic matter. Next, wind deposited soils. So the soil which is formed by transportation of wind are known as alien soils. Alien soils. So example, Lewis dune sand. So Lewis and dune sand are example for wind deposited soils, are example for alien deposited soils. So glacier deposited soils. The glaciers are large mass of ice formed by compaction of snow soils, which are transported and deposited by glaciers. So glacier deposited soils are known as or deposited soils. Example are moraines, drifts, tilts, outwash. So outwash, tilts, drifts, moraines are example for glacier deposited soils. So you should remember all these things. So they may be given matching or they may ask in objective questions. So example for glacier deposited soils, Lewis, loam, Alvaro clay, or drifts. Like that they may ask questions like this. So you need to remember all these things. So glacier deposited soils, examples are moraines, drifts, tilts, outwash. Next, gravity deposited soils. So the soils deposited by gravitational forces are known as colluvial soils. So the soils deposited by gravitational forces are known as colluvial soils. So the soil cut at the foot of the hill and steep slopes are example for gravity deposited soils. So example for gravity deposited soils are talus. Talus is example for colluvial soils or gravity deposited soils. Next, organic soils. So the soil which contains a decomposable organic matter that is known as organic soil. The soil which contains decomposable matter, then it is known as organic soil. So they are also known as cumulose soils. So organic soil, another name of organic soils are cumulose soils. Example for organic soils are peat, humus, muck. These three are highly organic nature. They consist of highly decomposable organic matter. So example for organic soils are peat, humus, muck, and organic soils are also called as cumulose soils. So points to remember here. If soil mass consists of all size particles in equal proportions, then the soil is known as well-graded soil. Well-graded soil means fine size particles, medium size particles, and coarse size particles are equally proportioned in a given soil mass. So such type of soils are known as well-graded soil. Example for well-graded soil is glacier deposited soils. If a soil mass consists of all size particles are in unequal proportions, that means uh, coarse grain particles, fine grain particles, and medium size particles, they are proportioned unequally, then the soil mass is known as poorly graded soil. Poorly graded soil. Examples are alluvial soils or the river deposited soils. If a soil mass consists of same size of particles throughout the mass is known as uniformly graded soil. If soil mass consists of same size of particles throughout the mass, then it is known as uniformly graded soil. Example, wind deposited soils. So wind deposited soil consists of uniformly graded soil. All particle sizes are equal. In a soil mass, if some interparticle sizes are missing, then the soil mass is known as gap graded soil. So in a soil mass, if some interparticle size of particles are missing, then the soil mass is known as gap graded soil. So if you sieve a soil mass, so you can get some of the soil mass in top sieves and some of the soils are in the bottom sieves. In middle sieves, they will be empty. That means some intermediate size particles are missing. Such type of soils are known as gap graded soil. So coming to basic definitions, relationships and interrelationships. So I should let me explain first what do you mean by block diagram or a three-phase diagram. So generally, soil is composed of solids and voids. So soil consists of solids and voids. Voids filled with air or water or both. So in the case of fully saturated soil, all the voids are filled with water. In the case of perfectly dry soil, all the voids are filled with air. In the case of partially saturated soil, some of the voids are filled with air and some of the voids are filled with water. So voids filled with air or water or both. So in actual practice, these three constituents are blended together to form a complex material. So in actual practice, so we can see blending of these three constituents, voids and water, air and solid particles. But for better understanding, so it is very difficult to understand the complex diagram. That's why for better understanding of the behavior of the soil mass, these three constituents are separated and represented in a diagram which is known as three-phase diagram. So complex diagram is very difficult. So the left hand side of the diagram is indicates complex diagram. The right hand side indicates the uh, block diagram or three-phase diagram. So for better understanding of the soil behavior, these three constituents are separated and represented in a diagram which is known as three-phase diagram or block diagram. So the three-phase diagram indicates partially saturated soil for dry soil and fully saturated soil. It becomes two-phase diagram. So for three-phase diagram, you can identify three phases: solid, water, air. Suppose it is a fully saturated soil, three phase becomes two phases because for fully saturated soil, air phase is absent. For perfectly dry soil, water phase is absent. So for perfectly dry soil and fully saturated soil, we can represent one we can represent with only two phase diagram. So only for partially saturated soil. That means some of the voids are filled with air and some of the voids are filled with water. For such type of soils, we can represent the soil in three phases. So only for partially saturated soil, we can represent in three phases. For fully saturated and perfectly dry soil, so the soil can be represented into two phases. Three-phase diagram will become two-phase diagram. So here, the right hand side of the diagram indicates volume components. The left hand side of the diagram indicates weight components. So if you see on volume, the total volume of the soil equal to volume of solids plus volume of voids. In volume of voids, it includes volume of water and volume of air. So total volume equal to volume of solids plus volume of voids. So total volume equal to volume of solids. Instead of volume of voids, we can include volume of air and volume of water. So total volume of soil equal to volume of air plus volume of water and volume of solids. So coming to weight components, so W equal to total weight of the soil mass. 1 minute, మేడం చెప్పండి మేడం. పెడతారు మేడం. ఓకే అవును మేడం. ఓకే మేడం. ఓకే. So coming to weight components, so total weight of the soil mass equal to weight of solids plus weight of voids. So weight of voids includes weight of water and weight of air. So total weight of the soil mass is equal to weight of air plus weight of water and weight of solids. But in soil mechanics, weight of air is neglected. So total weight of the soil mass is equal to weight of solids and weight of water. So coming to volume to relationships. So we have volume to relationship, next weight to relationships, and weight to volume relationships, and also interrelationship between the parameters. So soil parameters. Next, I am taking the first one, void ratio. So void ratio, the ratio of volume of voids to the volume of solids is known as void ratio. Here I am comparing volume of voids with the volume of solids. So it is the ratio of volume of voids to the volume of solids is known as void ratio. So get question here is sometimes the void ratio is greater than 100. So is it possible? So is it true or false? So sometimes E is greater than 100%. So it is true because in the case of collapsible size, honeycomb structure will be there. So volume of voids is more than volume of solids. So that's why sometimes E may be greater than 100%. In the case of clayey soils, very fine grained soils, the void ratio is more than that of coarse grained soils. So please remember, void ratio of fine grained soil is greater than coarse grain soil. So E is always greater than 0. So sometimes E is greater than 100. E is always greater than 0. It is also correct. So E maximum equal to 0.91. E minimum equal to 0.35. So it is observed that in the case of soils, the maximum void ratio will be 0.91. So the minimum void ratio observed is 0.35. So you need to remember these two values. So E maximum void ratio is equal to 0.91. So minimum void ratio equal to 0.35. So void ratio of fine grained soil is greater than coarse grained soil. So void ratio of fine grained soil, clayey soil, for clayey soils, void ratio is more than that of sandy soils. But fine grained soils are less permeable because even though they have high void ratio, the size of the voids are very less. That's why even though they have high void ratio, fine grained soil exhibits low permeability when compared to sandy soil. So please remember, void ratio of fine grained soil is greater than that of coarse grained soil. So coming to porosity. So porosity is defined as the ratio of volume of voids divided by total volume of soil sample. Here I am comparing the volume of voids to total volume of the soil sample. So porosity is always less than 1 or 100%. So it is a true statement. So porosity is always less than 1 or 100%. So if it is says in fractions, so it is less than 1. If it says in percentage, it may be less than 100%. So porosity ranges between 0 to 1 or 0 to 100%. So in void ratio, volume of voids are compared with the volume of solids. In porosity, volume of voids are compared with total volume of soil sample. So coming to degree of saturation. So degree of saturation is the ratio of volume of water to the volume of voids. So degree of saturation is the ratio of volume of water to the volume of voids. So for fully saturated soil, all the voids are filled with water. That means volume of water equal to volume of voids. So that's why for fully saturated soil, degree of saturation is equal to 100%. So for perfectly dry soil, all the voids are filled with air. There is no water. So for perfectly dry soil, there is no water. So degree of saturation is equal to 0%. So the range of degree of saturation is equal to 0 to 100%. So the next one is percentage air voids. So percentage air voids, it is the ratio of volume of air to the total volume. So volume of air to the total volume. So just like a porosity. In the case of porosity, it is the ratio of volume of voids to the total volume. Here volume of air to the total volume. So air content is defined as it is a ratio of volume of air to volume of voids. Volume of air to volume of voids. So for perfectly dry soil, so all the voids are filled with air. So volume of air equal to volume of voids. Air content equal to 100% or 1. So for fully saturated soil, So for fully saturated soil, all the voids are filled with water. There is no air. That's why air content equal to 0%. So the range for air content equal to 0 to 100%. So up to this volume to volume relationship I have discussed. Now I am going to discuss weight to weight relationships. So water content. So water content is defined as it is the ratio of weight of water to weight of dry soil. Weight of water present in the soil must to the weight of dry soil into 100. So water content is greater than or equal to 0. So always water content is greater than or equal to 0. That means for perfectly dry soil, water will be absent. So it may be equal to 0. So sometimes the weight of water is greater than weight of solids. Sometimes weight of water is greater than weight of solids. It is also true statement. So it is also get sometimes, only sometimes it is greater than 100%. So weight to volume relationships. So volume relationship and weight to weight relationships. Next weight to volume relationships. So first one is bulk unit weight. So bulk unit weight is the ratio of weight of partially saturated soil to the total volume of soil. Weight of partially saturated soil. So partially saturated soil means weight of air, weight of water, weight of solids. So partially saturated soil consists of weight of air, weight of water and weight of solids. So total volume consists of volume of air, volume of water and volume of solids. So coming to dry unit weight, it is a ratio of weight of dry soil to the total volume of dry soil. So weight of dry soil means water phase is absent. So weight of air plus weight of solids. Total volume means so volume of air plus volume of solids. So coming to saturated unit weight of the soil, it is a ratio of weight of saturated soil to the volume of saturated soil. So weight of saturated soil means all the voids are filled with water. So air phase is absent. So saturated unit weight equal to weight of water plus weight of solids divided by volume of water plus volume of solids. So unit weight of water equal to it is a ratio of weight of water to the weight of soil. So gamma W equal to 9.81 or 10 kilometer per meter cube or 1 gram per cc. So 1 gram per cc or 1 ton per meter cube. So unit weight of water can be taken as 9.81 or 10 kilometer per meter cube. So submerged unit weight. So unit weight of water, it is the ratio of weight of water to volume of water. It is the ratio of weight of water to volume of water. The submerged unit weight equal to weight of soil submerged divided by volume of soil. When soil is submerged, it loses some weight equivalent to unit weight of water. So gamma submerged is equal to gamma sat minus gamma W. So unit weight of solids. It is the ratio of weight of solids to the volume of solids. It is denoted by gamma S. So we need to exclude the volume of voids. We should not consider the volume of voids. Only we should consider the weight of solids and volume of solids. We should exclude volume of voids and weight of voids. So unit weight of solids is the ratio of weight of solid particles, not soil. Soil means solid particles plus voids. Here I am saying that only solid particles. So gamma is equal to weight of solid particles divided by volume of solid particles. So for given soil, unit weight of soil is constant. So it is not depends upon voids. Suppose if you consider the voids, sometimes it may be filled with water, sometimes it may be filled with air. So that unit weight of solids may be changes. If all the voids are filled with water, it is called as saturated. If all the voids are filled with heat, it is called as dry. So that the unit weight changes, but unit weight of solids is constant for a given soil mass because we are not considering the voids here. So unit weight of solids equal to weight of solids to the volume of solids. Specific gravity G equal to weight of soil divided by weight of equivalent volume of water. Equivalent volume of water. This term is very important. So weight of soil. So weight of equivalent volume of water. That means suppose we take a jar. If you take a jar 100 ml jar, so fill the jar up to 100 ml mark with soil. Next, remove the soil. The same up to the 100 ml mark, you need to fill with water. Now the water is occupied the volume. The water is occupied the volume which is equivalent to soil occupied by the soil. So soil, how much soil is occupied the volume? The same thing is occupied by water. Now we need to take the weight of the water. So weight of soil divided by weight of equivalent volume of water. So the weight of water which is occupied the volume occupied by soil, that is known as weight of equivalent volume of water. So in specific gravity we have two components. One is apparent or mass specific gravity. Second one is true or absolute specific gravity. So in specific gravity also we have two components, two types: apparent or mass specific gravity, true or absolute specific gravity. So apparent specific gravity. So apparent specific gravity is obtained by considering the void spaces between the solid particles. So here we need to consider the total volume of the soil mass, total volume and total weight of the soil mass. So total volume means volume of solids and volume of voids. Total weight means volume of solids and volume of weight of solids and weight of water. So here weight of soil means weight of voids plus weight of solids. So total volume means volume of voids plus volume of solids. So here we are considering the volume of voids. So it is not constant for a given soil mass. So apparent specificity. The name itself indicates apparent. It is temporary. The specific gravity is temporary. Depending upon the water content, it changes. So it is not constant for a given soil mass. It may vary depending upon the water content present in the soil mass. So for perfectly dry soil, so if we see the formula, weight of dry soil divided by weight of equivalent volume of water. After simplifying, so mass specific gravity equal to gamma d by gamma w. For perfectly dry soil, so we will substitute gamma d. For fully saturated soil, Gm equal to mass specific gravity equal to gamma sat by gamma W. So saturated unit weight divided by unit weight of water. Here we need to substitute the saturated unit weight. So for partially saturated soil, weight of wet soil divided by weight of equivalent volume of water. Here we need to substitute gamma B in the place of gamma. So Gm equal to gamma B by gamma W. So now we can say that mass specific gravity or apparent specific gravity changes depending upon the water content in the soil mass. For perfectly dry soil, Gm equal to gamma D by gamma W. For fully saturated soil mass, Gm equal to gamma sat by gamma W. For partially saturated soil, Gm is equal to gamma B divided by gamma W. So true specific gravity and absolute specific gravity. So it is obtained by excluding the void spaces between solid particles. So in the case of mass specific gravity, we consider the void spaces. But here, in the case of true specific gravity or absolute specific gravity, we are excluding the void spaces. We are not considering the void spaces. We are considering only the weight of solids or volume of solids. So weight of soil means weight of solids excluding voids. Volume of soil equal to volume of solids excluding volume of voids. So here true specific gravity equal to unit weight of solids divided by unit weight of water, gamma S by gamma W. So here we are not considering the volume of void. So whatever may be the uh, present in the voids, it may be air or it may be water. So no bother about it. It is constant. So true specific gravity is constant because it does not depend on void spaces. So depending upon the water content, apparent specific gravity changes, but true specific gravity is constant for a given soil mass. So this is asked in the gate examination. So apparent specific gravity is not constant. Please remember, apparent specific gravity is not constant. It includes the void spaces. True specific gravity is constant. It is excluding void spaces between the solid particles. The relationship between porosity and void ratio. So please remember this relationship E in terms of porosity. E in terms of porosity. So E equal to N by 1 minus M. This relationship is very important. Next, relationship between porosity and void ratio. So porosity in terms of void ratio N equal to E by 1 plus C. The relationship between air content and percentage air voids. So percentage air voids equal to product of air content and porosity. The product of air content and porosity. So relationship between bulk unit weight, specific gravity, void ratio and water content. So gamma B equal to G gamma W into 1 plus W by 1 plus C. So please remember, we need to take the appropriate formula in the problem. So by seeing that data, we have so many equations for gamma B. So depending upon the data given in the problem, we need to select the formula. So gamma equal to G gamma W into 1 plus W by 1 plus C. So gamma B in terms of suppose G gamma W into 1 plus W 1 plus C for perfect dry soil, water content equal to 0. So for gamma D it will become G gamma W by 1 plus C. So for dry soil, water content equal to 0, hence the gamma B becomes gamma D. So for fully saturated soil, so we have the relationship SC equal to W into G, W equal to SC by G. If you substitute W equal to SC by G. Finally, we get gamma B equal to G plus SC into gamma W by 1 plus C. So, first formula for gamma B equal to G gamma W into 1 plus W by 1 plus C. The second formula for gamma B equal to G plus SC into gamma W by 1 plus C. So, for fully saturated soil, degree of saturation is equal to 1. So, S is equal to 1. So, gamma sat equal to G plus C into gamma W by 1 plus C. So gamma submerged is equal to gamma dash. It is also it is alternate indicated by gamma dash. Gamma dash equal to gamma sat minus gamma W. So if you simplify, gamma submerged is equal to G minus 1 into gamma W by 1 plus C, where G is known as specific gravity of solid particles and E is known as void ratio. Relationship between bulk unit weight, water content and dry unit weight. So after simplifying, gamma D equal to gamma B bulk unit weight divided by 1 plus water content. The formula for gamma D equal to gamma B divided by 1 plus W. So each and every formula is very important. So you need to remember all these formulas. So if you take the problems, in a soil mass, air occupies 1/6 of the total volume. It is a great question. In a soil mass, air occupies 1/6 of the total volume. Water occupies 1/3 of the total volume of the soil. Then void ratio is given by dash. So here void ratio is equal to volume of voids by volume of solids. But volume of voids is equal to volume of air plus volume of water. So volume of voids equal to volume of voids is equal to 1/3 of V, because volume of air occupies 1/6 of the volume and the volume of water occupied by 1/3 of the total volume. So instead of air, in the place of air, I will write as a 1/3 of total volume. In place of water, I will substitute 1/6 of the total volume. So here volume of void is equal to half of the total volume. Total volume equal to volume of voids plus volume of solids. So volume of solids is equal to total volume minus volume of voids. But we got volume of voids is equal to half of the total volume. So volume of solids is equal to half of the total volume. So now E value equal to volume of voids by volume of solids. volume of water is half of the total volume. Volume of salts equal to half of the total volume. You will get 1 into 100. That is wire ratio equal to 100%. So second gate question is, in a soil mass, volume of voids is equal to total volume of solids. Then the porosity is given by. So in a soil mass, volume of voids equal to volume of solids. Then porosity is given by. So coming to total volume, it is the sum of volume of voids plus volume of solids. So total volume equal to volume of voids plus volume volume of voids. So total volume equal to 2 into volume of voids. So to volume of voids can be written as volume of voids and volume of solids can be written as half of the total volume. Now porosity equal to volume of voids by total volume. If you substitute half uh, volume of voids and total volume, you will get 50%. So porosity equal to 50%. So one more gate question is, total volume of soil is 10 meter cube. If void ratio equal to 0.6, degree of saturation equal to 40%, find the individual volume present in the soil mass. So total volume equal to 10 meter cube. Data given here is E value equal to 0.6 and degree of saturation is equal to 40%. So we can write E value as volume of voids by volume of solids. So total volume equal to E into volume of solids. So total volume equal to volume of voids plus volume of solids. Total volume given in the problem is 10. So 10 equal to, instead of volume of voids, you can write it as 0.6 into volume of solids plus volume of solids. So 10 equal to 1.6 volume of solids. Volume of solids equal to 1.6 by 10, 6.25 meter cube. So volume of solids equal to 6.25 meter cube. Next, degree of saturation is given in the problem. So degree of saturation can be written as volume of water by volume of voids. So degree of saturation equal to 0.4. So volume of water by volume of voids. So volume of water can be written as 0.4 into volume of voids. So volume of water equal to 0.4 into volume of voids equal to 0.6 into volume of solids. So you will get volume of water equal to 1.5 meter cube. So total volume equal to volume of air plus volume of water, volume of solids. So total volume is given in the problem. So volume of air we need to find out. So volume of water we got 1.5 and volume of solids are 6.25. So by substituting this equation we will get volume of air equal to 2.25 meter cube. So here, so one gate question is there. A soil sample of porosity is 40%, specific gravity equal to 2.7. So we need to calculate void ratio, dry unit weight, bulk unit weight. The soil is 50% saturated, saturated unit weight, submerged unit weight. So void ratio, you need to find out the void ratio. But data given is porosity 40%, specific gravity 2.7%. So we have the relationship between void ratio and porosity E equal to n by 1 minus n. By substituting n value 0.4, void ratio equal to 0.66. So dry unit weight equal to gamma D equal to G gamma W by 1 plus C. So take the gamma W equal to 10 kilometer cube. By substituting in the equation, we will get gamma D equal to 16.26 kilometer per meter cube. Next, gamma B equal to, we have the formula G plus SC into gamma W by 1 plus C. So 2.7 plus degree of saturation 0.5, void ratio 0.66, unit weight of water can be taken as 10 divided by 1 plus E value equal to 0.66. So gamma B equal to 18.25 kilonewton per meter cube. Next, saturated weight equal to G plus E into gamma W by 1 plus C. So gamma sat equal to G plus C into 1 gamma W by 1 plus C. So G equal to 2.7, E equal to 0.66 and gamma W can be taken as 10 kilonewton per meter cube. So saturated unit weight equal to 20.24 kilonewton per meter cube. So submerged unit weight equal to gamma dash equal to G minus 1 into gamma W by 1 plus C. So G equal to 2.7, gamma W equal to 10. y dash equal to 0.66. By substituting these values in the equation, we will get gamma dash equal to 10.24 kilonewton per meter cube. So gamma D equal to 16.26, gamma B 18.25, gamma SAT 20.24, and gamma dash 10.25. So by seeing this, we can say that unit weight of solids is greater than gamma SAT. Gamma SAT is greater than gamma bulk. Gamma bulk is greater than gamma D. Gamma D is greater than gamma subtended. So the sequence is the correct sequence is asked in the gate point of gate examination. So please remember the correct sequence. Unit weight of solid is greater than saturated unit weight, saturated unit greater than bulk unit weight, bulk unit weight is greater than dry unit weight, dry unit weight is greater than submerged unit weight. So one more question is a saturated sample weight 352 grams. After oven drying, its weight is reduced to 290 grams. So a saturated unit weight 352 grams. So it is kept in oven for 24 hours. After 24 hours, the volume is the weight is reduced to 290 grams. The specific gravity of solids and mass specific gravity are 2.65 and 1.85 respectively. So we need to find out water content, void ratio, porosity, and degree of saturation. So saturated unit weight of soil is 352 grams. Dry unit weight of soil is 290 grams. GS equal to 2.65 and GM equal to 1.85. So water content equal to weight of water divided by dry soil. So weight of water how can we get? By subtracting the dry soil from wet soil. So 352 by 352 minus 290 will give the weight of water divided by weight of dry soil equal to 290. So water content equal to 21.37%. So GM, we have GM can be written as gamma B by gamma W. So gamma B can be written as GM into gamma W. So in the problem, GM equal to 1.85 and gamma W can be taken as 10 kilonewton per meter cube. So gamma B equal to 18.5 kilonewton per meter cube. So gamma D is equal to, we have one more relation, gamma D equal to gamma B by 1 plus W. So one gamma D equal to gamma B already given in the problem 18.5 by 1 plus 0.21. So gamma B not given the problem, it is obtained in the last step. So gamma B equal 18.5 divided by 1 plus water content equal to 0.21. So gamma D equal to 15.25 kilonewton per meter cube. Next void ratio. So gamma D equal to G gamma W by 1 plus E. So from this formula, void ratio equal to G gamma W by gamma D minus 1. So E value equal to G gamma W 2.65 into 10 divided by 15.25 minus 1 E value equal to 0.73. So porosity equal to E by 1 plus E. The porosity equal to 0.73. Void ratio we got 0.73. 0.73 divided by 1 plus 0.73, porosity equal to 0.42. So it is expressed as 42%. So degree of saturation equal to SC equal to W into G. So S equal degree of saturation is equal to Wg by G. By substituting these values, degree of saturation equal to 77%. So another question is a soil has a bulk unit weight of 20 kg per meter cube and water content 16%. Calculate degree of saturation, porosity, percentage of air voids and air content. So gamma B is given in the problem 20 kg per meter cube, weight equal to 16%, G equal to 2.65. So gamma D we have the relationship gamma B by 1 plus W. So gamma B is given and also W is given in the problem. So gamma D equal to 17.24. So E value equal to, we have the relationship G gamma W by gamma D minus 1. So G can be taken as 2.68, gamma W can be taken as 10 divided by gamma D equal to 17.24 minus 1. So E equal to 0.53. It can be represented as 53%. Next, degree of saturation. We have the relationship S equal W to G. Degree of saturation equal to WG by E. So W is given, G is given, and also we got. So degree of saturation equal to 0.83 can be represented as 83%. Next, porosity equal to E by 1 plus C. So by substituting the E value, we will get porosity as a 34%. Next, percentage air voids equal to, we have relationship percentage air voids equal to AC into N. So AC air content is equal to 0.17 and porosity is equal to 0.34. So percentage air voids equal to 5%. So air content, we have a relationship air content plus degree of saturation is equal to 1, or air content plus degree of saturation equal to 100%. So from this formula, air content equal to 1 minus degree of saturation, AC equal to 1 minus degree of saturation equal to 0.83, we will get 17%. So with this, I have finished the fundamentals of soil mechanics, how soil is formed, geological classification of soil, and also uh, basic three-phase diagram, uh, volume to volume relationship, weight to weight relationships, and also interrelationships, and weight to volume relationships. The problems also I have explained here. So with this, I have finished the first chapter. Thank you very much for attending this class.